All right, here we go. This is mid-segment of a triangle. Read that first definition out there, David, for me, nice and loud, this first sentence.
A mid-segment of a triangle is a segment that connects the midpoints of two sides of the triangle.
So if I have a midpoint, meaning that side and that are congruent, right? That means at that point, we'll say A is the midpoint of that side, and I connect it to the other midpoint of this side, we'll say B, right? And I connect those 2 points, then I've created a midsegment. By definition, it says a midsegment of a triangle is a segment that connects the midpoints of two sides of the triangle. Okay? It doesn't talk about any of the properties. That's just the definition of it. Okay? How many midsegments does a triangle have?
2.
It has 3. Very good, Nash. Right? I'll draw this one right here. But if I were to connect those 2 midpoints, and those 2 midpoints, and those 2 midpoints, I would have 3 midsegments. There are actually 3 midsegments of every triangle. Okay? We're just dealing with this one right here for now. Okay? But there are actually 3 of every triangle. Okay? You good? Question? Alright. How about reading out the next theorem down there? Theorem 5.1. Nice and loud. Ben?
Theorem 5.1 Midsegment theorem. The segment connecting the midpoints of the two sides of a triangle is parallel to the third side.
Stop right there. So now we're talking about the properties. Okay? And it says the first property is that the midsegment is parallel. Okay? That's huge. That property says that the midsegment is parallel to that third side. Well, who cares? What do parallel lines tell us? Why is that important? What do parallel lines tell us? Well, they tell us alternate interior, alternate exterior, and most importantly, corresponding. If these 2 lines are parallel, I know that this angle is congruent to this angle. Why? Because they're corresponding. Right? More middle school math. They're corresponding. Do I know any other angles?
Yes.
Yes, I know this angle right here. This angle is congruent to this angle. By what reason?
Corresponding.
Corresponding. Okay? So, because those 2 lines are parallel, that opens up a whole host of other properties. Okay? Parallel lines are important. What else does the property say, or the theorem? Ben, keep reading. Start from the beginning.
The segment connecting the midpoints of the two sides of a triangle is parallel to the third side and is half as long as that side.
And it is half as long. Not only is it parallel, that's the first property, but the second property is it's half as long. So if this third side is 20, then what is the midsegment?
10.
It's half as long. 10. Okay? If this one's 2x, then this one's x. Okay? It's half as long. If I know that this one is 110, then what is this one got to be?
220.
220. Okay? 220. Double the amount. Well, that seems easy. And if I just gave you problems like this and said find x, everybody could do that. But what do? They want to throw in some algebra. Okay? What if I say 2x plus 1 and 4x minus 3? Let's change this into 6x. Sorry. Change that into 6x. Write that down. We know from the theorem that the property is that the midsegment is half as long as the third side. How could we set these 2 things equal and solve? They're not equal. Right? One of them is 4 and the other one is 8. Or one of them is 6 and the other one's 12. How do I set 4 and 8 equal to each other? Are 4 and 8 equal? No, they're not equal. But I could set them equal if I did something. Right? I could either say 2 times 4 is 8, or I could say 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4, right? I could somehow set them equal to each other, right? Write this down. In doing this problem, you will always say 2 times the midsegment. Write this down, please. 2 times the midsegment equals what? The third side. 2 times the midsegment will always equal the third side. I'm in your way, sorry. Questions? Alright, so having said that, a much easier way to do this instead of dividing is to say 2 times 2x plus 1. 2 times the shorter amount. Right? Now I'll be able to set it equal to, Hodges, what is it going to be equal to? Which is?
6x minus 3.
Equals 6x minus 3. Exactly right. So I get 4x plus 2. What's very important to remember to do there? Starts with a D, math word, distribute. You must remember to distribute. Okay, you will not get that problem right if you don't distribute. Equals 6x minus 3. I subtract 4x from both sides. I add 3 to both sides. And I get 5 is equal to 2x. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 5 over 2. X equals 5 over 2. All I did from here, guys, is algebra. Just solved. But the idea here is that 2 times the midsegment will equal the third side. That's what you need to remember. Okay, questions? Do you think it will always ask you for x? What do you think might be tricky? What might they ask you instead of saying find x? What might they ask you?
Find the midsegment.
Yeah, they might say find AB. Right? Here's AB. You found x. Is this the answer? No. What would you need to do with the 5 halves? Take it and do what with it? Plug it in right there. 2 times 5 over 2 plus 1. 5 plus 1 or 6. So AB equals 6. In geometry, which is what we're doing, chapter 5 is all geometry. In geometry, it's very important to always read your instructions. Is it asking you to find x? Is it asking you to find AB? Okay, one or the other. Make sure you read your instructions. Okay, questions? All right, let's practice a few problems. Turn in your workbook, section 5.1. We are on page 277 in your workbook. We're going to do the first 9 problems, I think. 277 in your workbook. Try these now at your desk.